I think we are live. Let me go ahead and do a quick check here on the mobile device. That looks pretty good to me. Awesome. Okay. All right. Sweet. We should be live on my Facebook page, on YouTube, and on Twitch. I shared it over to my personal profile too, so we might get a couple people, random people from different places there. I'll wait a second here, and then we'll dive right into it. I tried to market this stream decently today. I put a post on earlier today. I put a Instagram story up. I definitely need to still continue to try to find people that are interested, obviously, specifically in personal finance right now. As I mentioned in my normal daily live streams, we're really just, targeting people that we know and people that we're already connected with. But, I think I really think we have something good here. I'm excited to share the information that I'm going to share with you guys today. And like I said, it's going to be on, it's live to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, but it'll also be there as an archive. So if you ever need to come back and take a look at it, if you ever need to, comment, ask any questions, feel free to do so. But, we'll probably just get right into it here. And I'll start going over some of the initial notes that I'd like to address before we dive into the actual material here. First off, anybody that is here with us now, comes along the way, watches afterward, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for consuming the content here. Thank you for tuning in live if you are. Means a lot to me. It's what I'm trying to do right now with a lot of different things, but personal finance is just like one that's I've been all about it for the past few years. So I think I'm at a point now where I am definitely not a personal advisor, a wealth advisor, but I think I have a decent amount of things that I can kind of bring to the table and kind of help with. So once again, thank you for tuning in. I'm still a newbie at the. I'm just going down the line here at the notes. I'm still a newbie at the whole streaming thing, so hopefully this quality is decent. We're always trying to upgrade that, but we're pretty early on in that journey. So hopefully we don't drop too many frames. There's not too much lag or any audio quality issues, but I think we have most of that squared away. As I said before, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy on the internet, that some of you might know. So I just like to share this knowledge and everything that I've kind of curated from a bunch of different places. I just want to, anything that I'm implementing that I think works, I want to share that with other people. And I'm trying to put it into a format that is very easily consumable. And yeah, this is one attempt at that. I had a previous attempt that you could find on these platforms as well. That was about sort of like my financial crash course. Like if you went from literally nothing all the way up through, checking, credit cards, like everything like that. So that's sort of like, the whole roadmap. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to go sort of with that. Like I'm going to consider pieces of that, but I'm just going to show where, the things that I use, some tools that I use, the reasons that I have certain accounts, and how it's truly benefited me. And I'm showing like, a bunch of other stuff too. So like, if we keep looking here, one, definitely do your own research. Don't just like take my word as like, gold or whatever. Like, definitely don't do that. Get multiple sources. That's always what I've done to this point. This is just what I do and what I've curated. That doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. There's millions of different ways to do whatever you want to do here. And then, I'm going to be showing real figures. So like, I'm going to literally open up Mint, which is a tool that I'll talk about here. And it shows like all the different things that I have, all the accounts, everything like that. I'm going to be showing them not because like, if you think they're high, not to brag. If you think they're low, not because like I want, I'm like looking for handouts, like whatever the case is, like that's not why. I just feel that if you're truly transparent with your audience, I think you're going to be much further ahead So that is the whole reason that I'm doing that. I want to show in another one where I did Roth IRA stuff, I showed my portfolio, I showed, balances and stuff like that, because I think it's important to, just the transparency. I highly value it when other creators, show me transparency with what they have going on. So that's just what I'm going to do here from the get-go, because I don't see a real reason not to. It's just kind of silly. So I'm all about transparency and honesty, so that's why we're going to be doing that. And the last thing is ask questions, please. If you're on the live stream here and you have a question and maybe I didn't go over something, or like you've never heard of something, please ask it in the chat. No matter what it is, you'll see it over here. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, it'll come up over in here, and then I can answer it, and everybody will benefit. Because if you have a question, then probably somebody else does as well, and that'd be great. Now, on the off chance that you're watching or you watch it later and you can't live chat, like shoot me a direct message or comment on the video wherever it's at. I'd be more than happy to assist as well. That's what this is about. Actually, just today, as a side note, I started a group on LinkedIn and Facebook just to kind of test which one we'll end up going with. But it's all about this stuff, like personal development, personal finance, entrepreneurship. I'm looking to expand that. Like I said, I literally just started it today, but that's what I want that to be about. Sort of like these things, try to build a community around these topics, because I think they're all very important. And so without any further ado, let's get into this here. So, everybody, I think, has a story, especially when it comes to, money in a sense, or like how you grew up with money. And, a lot of that comes from, obviously how you were raised, the environment you were raised in, and just a bunch of other things, right? So, I'm 24 years old, and I have been pretty much throughout my life, my family has been like, money conscientious. I would just say we're middle class. We have, just decently nice things. I was never starved. I was never like poor or anything like that. We were never in poverty. We always had what we needed. We didn't do anything like super crazy. We honestly didn't go on a lot of vacations when I was younger. So that was something that might have been different compared to other people. But money was always a sense of security for like my family, my parents, us growing up. And that was kind of instilled within me. So as I mentioned, I'm 24 now. When I was probably, getting out of high school, going into college. And the other thing too is I haven't left home yet. So I lived here throughout college. I'm still here now. Going to probably be moving out within a year. But to this point, I haven't had a lot of that too. So that's just like a like a given fact here as we move through some of this stuff. So I have been slightly ahead of the game in that regard. But to this point in my life, I've been blessed, but it comes at like sort of, it comes through your family and comes through everything like that. So where I was when I was like in high school, right? I went to high school. I went to a private school for grade school and for high school. And that costs like thousands of dollars. And again, that's not a flex. That's like, it's just what we decided to do. We were raised Catholic. I'm not really like a practicing Catholic per se anymore, but we went to a private school. That costs money. My parents, did a lot of sacrificing to get us there. Super happy about that. That's a different topic. I'm not sure if that's really worth it or not, but that was my situation. So you could say though that our lives might have been different if we didn't go to a private school, because our family would have had slightly more money each year, and maybe we would have went on vacations and stuff like that. The point that I'm trying to make with that story is just that, as you're going through life, if you're a young person now, there's going to be decisions that you're going to have to make. Whether you care about if you're in a good school district and you can afford to send your kids to a public school, or like maybe you're not, and you go to a private school, or whatever the deal is. There's always things like that. There's like forks in the road that you're going to spend money here and you might not be able to spend money over here, if that makes sense. And I don't really want my life to really be a life of kind of like sacrifices in that sort of a way, but it's ultimately it may be the case. So I want to try to stick to the timeline here and continue to go about what was happening for me during this time. I get out of high school, I'm going through college, starting to, be a little more independent, if you will. And I am spending money on what I would slightly call like stupid stuff in a sense. I can't remember every single small purchase that I made, but it was like things that it was just stuff. Like, I mean, that's how I would categorize it. Like, I was getting Amazon packages frequently. I was trying to, I don't know, make my car a little nicer. I was never a super big car guy, but like, I mean, different things for the car. I wasn't really watching what I was spending per se, and it went by so fast because like it was while I was in college, so I wasn't really focusing on any of that. But I do remember getting comments from my family saying like, "Hey, you're spending like a lot of money. You're always getting like packages and stuff delivered to the house," and I think it was just, I mean, it ended up just being like a phase that I kind of went through. And like I said, I'm not sure of every little thing that I bought, but it was like, if I wanted something, I kind of just bought it. Okay. So I think there's a lot of people in that frame of mind. I don't know if it's just young people. I don't know if it's older people, but whatever the case may be, it could be anyone, I'm sure. If you're in that state of mind where it's like, oh, I see something, I have to have it type thing, it's dangerous. Like, because I'm telling you, like I was there. And that's not to say that if you want something, you shouldn't buy it, but that's just sort of what I've noticed is when you get into that state where you're not really focusing on why you're getting things, or you just see something and you don't think, oh, how is this going to add value to my life? And you're just doing impulse purchases. That's a lot of what I had was just impulse purchases. It's rough, So, point being, I was in that phase, and then somehow I kind of like got out of it. I got out of it to the point where I was like, okay, maybe we don't need to buy all this stuff anymore. Maybe we don't need to consistently, like I was looking for a different approach, basically, is what happened. So I used to spend all the money. I used to spend money all the time here down in the story section now. And then I started listening to, my parents had listened to him a while ago, but I started listening to Dave Ramsey. So maybe some of you know who Dave Ramsey is. If you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, I will give you a brief overview of who he is. He is a radio and YouTube personality that is pretty conservative when it comes to finance. No credit cards. He wants you to have no debt, pay for everything in cash, obviously. And he's a hard ass is what he is, really. Good dude. I would say that if you're just starting out on your finance journey, trying to get better with all that, then I would say go to him first. That's where I went, like I said. And it was because it was the only name that I knew was one of the reasons. But even now, I would say maybe start with him. And the reason is because I can't remember specifically, like I said, but I think he almost like scared me straight in a sense, that whole scared straight thing as far as like, with criminals and stuff, but not obviously anything crime related. But like, it was like, if you don't get your act together, if you don't try to, focus on what you're buying and not like get into debt and things like that, then you're going to be in for a shitty life is pretty much what the case is, because you're not going to be able to manage your finances properly. You're not going to be able to go on vacations because you're not going to have any money left over to do things that, otherwise would be, like you're going to be struggling to pay, you could be struggling to like pay rent. You could be struggling to pay bills and stuff like that if you don't like put some level of effort into this. So I started watching some of his content. Basically, he's got these 7 baby steps, and it's basically emergency fund, pay off all your debt, different things like put money away for a house and all these things. And basically, though, for me, and I think for a lot of other people, if while you're watching him, you get at all like interested in personal finance, you're going to find out very quickly that you're going to want more. And he's not going to be really able to provide that for you because his target audience is people that literally can't hold a dollar in their pocket, which is nothing wrong with that. That's just a fact. Like I'm sure he would even tell you that. So the people that I kind of want to appeal to and the way that I would like to influence people in this space is like, we can start there, but like we should really take another step. Like if you're serious about wanting to get better at personal finance, that's who I would like to appeal to. I don't want to appeal to the people that, can't, like just somehow get into debt like every 5 minutes. Like that's like there should be, in my opinion, you should want to like go up a staircase, not just like go up a hill and tumble right back down, if that makes sense. So that is sort of my hot take on what that is. But like I said, I started with Dave. It was a lot of good information, a lot of solid foundational information. And then at some point I was like, well, you know what? I have a credit card already. I had a credit card at that point. I might have had more than one. And I was like, why is this guy telling me to not use credit cards, for instance? And, I realized that there's nothing wrong with using credit cards. There's a problem with using credit cards the wrong way is what the problem is. And that's what struck me, is that there didn't seem to be a lot of faith. And maybe it was totally reasonable for Dave to not have faith in like the people that he was working with. But I don't think that's right. So to move past that, I kind of graduated to like looking at different people, like looking at different, interesting. This thing just turned on air here. Sorry. But I graduated to looking at and watching content from different influencers. So like if you're familiar with people on YouTube, Graham Stephan is a huge one, probably the biggest one in the space. And Ryan Scribner, and there's a bunch of other people, Beat the Bush. There's just different. If you literally Google like personal finance on YouTube, you'll find a bunch of other people too. And I'm trying to get sort of into that space, but I'm a little more diverse than that. So I don't know how we'll ultimately rank with all that. But the point is that these guys are younger, one, but two, they're more diversified in the things that they're trying to do. They're not just focused on like literally paying for everything in cash. They talk about credit cards, they talk about mortgages, leveraging debt rather than just having like no debt at all, which I'm kind of in favor of having no debt, but things like that. So basically, I got to that point and I was like, okay, I'm kind of buying in at this point, right? I'm like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I focus on my personal finances, try to do some budgeting, at least know where my money is going. And then really it just continues to snowball from there. Like, you start thinking about investments, you start thinking about credit cards, you start thinking about, how you're going to pay for a house one day and all these other things. And, we'll get into some of that here. The other thing I did, like I said, was I adopted some minimalist ideals. So I didn't need all that stuff anymore, right? I didn't need the random things that were going to come into my life that weren't going to provide any value. So basically that means like I saw something and then I immediately asked myself, well, am I going to have this for a long time? Am I going to use it more than once? Is it going to provide any value to me other than just like instant gratification, like short-term BS. And that really helps. Like, truthfully, that really helps because, at the end of the day, the only reason we have money is to buy stuff, right? And for security here and there. But like, if you're not buying things, then the money's just coming in and it's not going out. And it makes life way easier, right? So at this point in my life, really the biggest thing that I spend money on is food. And honestly, during this exact moment, as I'm recording this, we're in quarantine and I'm not spending much money on food at all. So it's been very good. And I would highly recommend the things that we've gone through here so far, or that we're about to go through. And that's kind of the track that I was on there. So what happened next, though? So I would say that's kind of the turning point. What happened next? Well, I started to live within my means, and actually start to like save and invest and take some of these practices on that I'm going to show you here. And then I did actually become debt free. So I got out of college and I had about $26,000 in government student loans, like nothing private, but it was all through, subsidized initially through the government and then some unsubsidized stuff, if you're familiar with that. And then I paid all that off, and in under a year, or maybe just over a year or something like that, but I paid all that off. So I was debt free then, and I'm still debt free currently. I haven't bought a new car or anything like that, or a house. And that's a great feeling. It's an absolutely remarkable feeling when you're debt free, because you don't owe anybody, you don't owe any money to anybody, like on a recurring basis, and you realize that you're just so much more in control of your own life. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be debt free forever. I think there definitely is good debt, but that is just where we're currently at as far as that goes. And like I said, it's a great feeling. The only other bullet point that I have here in the story is I also try to fund my Roth. Well, I've been doing it every single year. So about $6,000 every single year goes into my Roth IRA. And we'll touch on that here. But like I said, I made a whole video on like Roth IRAs and stuff like that. But that is a long-term play, obviously. Like you can't touch that. Well, you can, but you can't touch that money until you're like 62 years old. That's at least how I think about it. You literally can touch the money. Like it's still your money. But what I'm saying is if I put that money in there, I mentally think that that's for retirement. Like we're not going to do that, because if you do touch it, if you do start to withdraw, then your rate of return is going to ultimately go down because you don't have as much money invested and yada, yada. And yeah, so we'll touch on all that. And, like I said here as we go through. So that's a little bit of my story. It was kind of long-winded. Apologize. But like that is where I was about 6 years ago, and kind of like ran it through to basically now. I did have a job, like a full-time job in there at one point. So I was getting some more like 401k stuff, which I don't have anymore now. So I'm kind of going to skip that. But that was just another retirement thing, kind of like a Roth IRA. I'll try to touch on it maybe in here somewhere. But yeah, so pretty much though, that's the story. The reason, again, that I like these things is because I think it's really important to kind of, and the reason that I like giving the anecdotal, story piece of this is because I think it's important to understand the context before you start going into like the actual nuts and bolts of things, right? And I don't know the audience right now. Like, I don't know. And even if we did have a bigger audience or anything like that, you might be at different parts of the, different segments of the race of life, right? Or something like that. So you could be like, maybe you're 18 and you don't have any of this stuff yet. Maybe you're 35 and like you're trying to start over, or you're trying to implement some things that you just, didn't before. It doesn't matter where you're at. I'm trying to give the context and then continue to do that. So let me dive in here, and let me literally, the first thing we're going to go off of here is pretty much one of the coolest things that I've ever found in my entire life. When I found it, I was like, oh my God. Like there was literally a time where I started ramping all this up. I started getting credit cards. I started getting different accounts, retirement accounts, all this other things. And I was like, why is there not something where I can link all of these accounts together like in one place, and I can see every single thing that I have going on and manage them accordingly? And ultimately, you want a bottom line of like how much money you have, how much, assets minus liabilities equals like net worth effectively. And why is that not a thing? Why have I not found that yet? Lo and behold, there was something there probably the whole time, and it's called Mint. So it's the company Intuit that makes TurboTax and QuickBooks. They have a free service called Mint. This is my number one tool. I would absolutely 100% recommend that you go do it right now if you don't have it. Just sign up for it and you connect all your accounts. If you do online banking, let's say through PNC, and then you have a credit card through Discover, and then you have, a loan through, somebody else that gives loans, like you can connect all of those online accounts to this service and it'll show up there. There's also another tool called Personal Capital. I've never used that, but it does kind of the same thing. So let's go over here and let's log in, because I was talking for so long and it logged me out. So this is literally my Mint account. Okay, so like I said, mint.com, and hopefully the stream doesn't get crappy as this loads and everything, because it's a little slow, I think. But this is literally just mint.com is what this is. And it gives you some ads here and there, so you just X out of those. But this is what I'm talking about. And I'm going to try to go through every single thing that we have here and show you exactly what I have, why I have it, the reasons and the way that I use it and everything like that, because I think it's going to be beneficial. So this is where we're going to spend most of the time here, I would say. And I might bop back and forth between the little personal finance like agenda that we had, just to get an idea and stay on track. So let me bop back there right now and let's go through this. So I'll talk about these, and then we'll shoot over to Mint and kind of show you exactly what I mean. So what I've already started talking about, obviously, is Mint, that tool online that you connect everything through. And I don't want this to be like a Mint review. This is actually more meant to be like how I utilize all my things, and I'm just using Mint as sort of like the very easy way to display it all. But that being said, Mint is extremely powerful. You can do things like budgeting, bill pay. I think you can pay bills actually through there. Like you could, like if you have a Discover card, I don't use it like this, but you could like at least see what you have to pay. Like if your invoice or your statement comes at the end of the month for Discover and it's $100, you could see that in there. You could do goals. So maybe you're trying to save up for like a new Tesla Model 3. I had that in there at one time. I ended up stopped using the goals, but still though, you could do that. Like, it'll set all that for you. Trends. This is a huge one because it shows you like how much money you're spending per month. It shows you how much money you're saving per month. You can filter it. There's graphs. It's really cool. Just a lot of data there. And then ultimately, if I had to like say one thing right now that I use Mint for like very religiously, it's just the net worth calculation, because I just like to see if I'm trending upwards or, trending downwards or what's kind of going on there. I do use a little bit of the budgeting, but honestly, I've kind of gotten to the point now where, like I said, I don't spend a whole lot of money on a lot of different things. Plus, most of my spending now is actually business related, and that's a totally separate topic. What we're going to do today has nothing to do with business finances. I have totally separate accounts for everything like that, which I will probably do a video on. But let me just stop for a second and say, if you have a business or if you want to do even anything freelance, like if you're even if you don't have an established entity, like maybe open up a different account for that. Like I would seriously recommend that. I went a different route and I did everything I got the LLC right away and then I got the bank accounts. You don't have to go that deep, but try to not commingle funds, like if you can, just because it's a pain in the ass to fix that. And, if you ever need to actually, if you're going to scale up with a business and stuff like that, you just don't really want that to happen. But like I said, topic for a different video. We're talking about personal finance only in this one. And like I said, net worth is the big one that I use, but you can do all these different things. So there's also accounts and everything like that. I pretty much list these out just so I can kind of go through them in Mint. And it's probably just time to pop back over here and just kind of give you an idea of exactly what this can do for you, what it's doing well for me, and how you could benefit from it. So like I said, if we have any questions as we go through this, feel free to ask them. But let's just dive in, and I'll kind of try to explain this as best as I can. So here's Mint. If you were to just log in right now and make an account, then you would just go up here, you'd press add account, and you would pick, you'd pick like Ally Bank, or you would pick PNC Bank or whatever it is, and you would just put your username and password in there, and it loads it up. It syncs all the data over. It's literally a wonderful thing. I'm not going to do it obviously right now because I don't have any to add, but we'll go through these and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. Transactions is literally going to show you every single transaction. So all the transactions that happen through your account, it's just a big list of that. It's cool feature here. It's also your credit score. So it'll show you each month like what your credit score is if you kind of sign up for that little thing. This is that bills piece that I was talking about. If you have your statements come each month from Discover or wherever, it'll show you all that in there so you know what you're paying. Budgets is a big one that we might go over a little bit more in depth, just because it is kind of interesting and I think really integral to what we're trying to accomplish, especially in the early going of personal finance here. This is that goals one I said, anything, vacation, car, whatever. Trends, a lot of data there. Investments, I think that's specifically just to the investments that you have, so if they're trending up or down. But again, I don't utilize Mint in a lot of the different ways you can. Like, it's cool to have like an epicenter, but I'd just go to like Fidelity or Robinhood or something like that to see how my investments are performing, because sometimes this data can be slightly old. Like, it'll say here like how long ago it was updated and things like that. So you're better off just going to the source, but this is a really good snapshot of what you have. And how you're able to, just kind of see those types of things. So, I have a different thing also in mind that I want to kind of cover, but I'm not sure exactly when to do it. So I might do it right now. Yeah, let's just do it right now, and then maybe we can come back. Let me preface what I'm about to do here. So in budgeting, and this will probably make sense to do it this way. So let me flip over to this document here. This document is, well, not too much anymore for me, but it was extremely helpful at one point in my life when I was getting a literal set income every single week or every single 2 weeks or whenever you get paid. This would work for you. And it was stupid simple. I literally developed this, just completely from scratch, as you can see in a little Google document here. And it doesn't go into super big depth, but it was, like I said, it was really beneficial. So Mark, what the hell was it? Well, I'm about to tell you. So as you can see, it's just called My Budget. And it's not like, how much I'm going to spend on groceries or how much I'm going to spend on, I don't know, whatever else you need to pay for. I was lucky enough, like I said, to not have a super high overhead. I didn't have rent to worry about. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't have any of this other stuff. I did have student loans at one point, and that was factored in here. But this is this is so crucial, okay? What I wanted to do with this and what I thought was like really important when I built this thing was just to show where my money is going and how I can basically automate some of the things that I'm doing. So let me try to explain exactly what you're looking at. Here, the first piece is easy, okay? Income. Now, maybe you have one source of income, maybe you have 2, 3, 4, whatever. All you would do is, let's use like weekly, okay? Let's say you get $400 per week from source number 1 and $100 per week from your source number 2, your side hustle or whatever. So you got $500 per week coming in. Like, you are literally going to receive that in some manner. So the way that I always thought about it was when I got a paycheck, that's money that I get, obviously. I traded my time for money. But once that paycheck is on its way to me, I need to be the person that directs it into the right place, obviously, right? Because that's called being financially responsible, right? So what was I going to do, and how did I make it so it was a lot easier for me, and ultimately, I'm going to thank myself later for the things that I did. Well, the first, and here's where like psychology kind of comes into this, okay? Like, you're obviously going to have expenses. You might go out to eat, you might have rent, you might have a car payment. Ideally, if we're doing everything right, we want to have as little of that as possible because we want to live within our means. However, you're still going to have things you have to spend money on, regardless of that. But the thing that I wanted to do, and especially as a younger person that was in this fortunate situation, I wanted to pay myself first. And specifically, I wanted to pay myself in the form of like later in life, because I don't actually need that much money right now, but I'm probably going to need money in retirement, and I'm probably going to need money, later in life when, because I was getting into investing and stuff like that. So what I did was I came in here and I said, all right, I'm getting $500 per week, for instance. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay myself first. And I literally went down this line. The Roth IRA is actually one of the easiest ones. If your goal is to if your goal is to put away the max contribution into your Roth IRA each year, I think it's $6,000 per year divided by like 52 weeks, we could say in this instance. I'm pretty sure it's 115. So like you would just come in here and you would say 115, and now 115 of that 500 is gone. And then I had other investments. So I had a little bit of money, and I was utilizing Robinhood to trade specific stocks, and I was using a brokerage account through Fidelity, which is just a different institution, same type of thing. I had some money in there to do, I was putting some money in there to trade other mutual funds and things like that. So then maybe you just, put in like a couple bucks here, and I don't know, a couple bucks here, something like that. Okay. So I wanted to pay my retirement self because I knew that that's a fixed amount that I want to put away every year ultimately. So I did that. I did the calculation. Boom. Literally, this game gets so easy when you take the guesswork out of it. Okay. If you're getting $500,000, whatever per week, and you just tell yourself that you're going to live off less, it's ridiculous how easy that is, because it's not like you're actually losing money. You're putting the money into a different spot. And honestly, what I had working for me was I literally had the money come straight out of my check. Like I set it up with my accounting department at my work, and I put in the account. So like if I was getting $1,000 a week, let's just say random number, okay, I only received like $300, again random, into my checking account. The rest of it went into the other places, so it's like I never even saw it, right? Because then if you don't have it, if you're one of those people where you need like the psychological piece of it, like if you never even had it, then it's not like, well, I'm living off less money, or like, I didn't get to go to the store this month because I lost my paycheck to my Roth IRA or some crap like that. That's what I mean is there's a psychological component to it where I think if the money just never comes through my checking account, it's like, well, I'm never going to spend it. And not to mention, let's say you had this idea, but the money did come into your checking account, then you would also have to, spend more time moving it around and different things like that. So automation is just key here. I think it's such a benefit. So I'm spending probably too much time on this, but I do think it's important. The bottom line here is, I would say my recommendation is figure out how much money you make per week or per pay period, whatever you want to do. Pay yourself first. And I mean specifically yourself in the future. So your retirement, make sure you're funding that Roth. It's super duper important. You're going to thank me later, and you're really more so you're going to thank yourself later. And then investments, if you want to play around with some Robinhood stuff, if you have expendable income, I would honestly, the way that I would truly do this, if I was recommending this to somebody, would be, let's just do this, 1, and then 2, and then 3 if necessary, like in a sense. So you're obviously going to have money to spend, on rent and other stuff like that. So this one, investments here, number 3, I would say is kind of optional in a lot of ways because you don't need to go into this. Everybody should have some sort of retirement thing. Like I don't know why you wouldn't, unless you just want to save money, but this is going to be so crucial for you down the road if you plan on living past 62. Okay, so I think most of us are going to. So put the money in here, fully fund this, put in some good mutual funds, watch the other video on how I do that. But that's crucial. This is also crucial because this is your money if you lose your job or I don't know, like let's think of a scenario that would never happen. Maybe like the entire world economy gets shut down and, you only get like one check that's like, I don't know, $1,200 or something like that from your government. Whatever the case may be. I'm just making something up there. But you know what I'm saying? Like if something like that were to happen, you'd want this account, it says Ally Bank here, but really your savings account, you would want to have some money in that, right? So, maybe you put like $100 in there or something like that. So you got $115 here, you got $100 here, maybe you do these other stuff. And then all you do now is the money that would get, if you do it the automated way where it just comes out of there, then, the rest of the money would just come in here. Let's just assume these aren't here. So like 0 and 0. So 115, 100, 215 minus that, what is that? 285, I think. Yeah. So this is the point that I'm trying to make, okay? Pay yourself first, please. Pay yourself first. Care about how you're gonna live after you're 62 here, because you're gonna really thank yourself when you're a millionaire. And then also save money for a rainy day, because that's super important too. And then you could work backwards. Like if you have like solid fixed expenses, like if you absolutely need like $1,000 a month or something like that, do it the other way. Say, okay, well, I need this remaining income, so I'm not going to spend anymore. That's actually might be a better way. It all really depends on your personal preference. But the point of this is I call this like level 1 budgeting. Like you're not budgeting like how much money you're going to spend at Trader Joe's. You're budgeting how much money you're going to put into different aspects of your life. Like, whether it's retirement or whether it's rainy day savings or whether it's, everyday type of spending type thing. That is really important because this is more important than how much money you're going to spend at Trader Joe's, because this is like the big buckets. And then you could always, twist and turn them a little bit, but I don't do the micro budgeting really that much. Like I do for a little bit of stuff, like very fixed things, but my stuff changes all the time, so it's difficult. I try to care about where every single dollar goes, but after a while, you're not going to really need to care too much, because if you just adopt the mindset that you're not going to buy useless shit, then you're going to be in a better place regardless, especially if you're doing this. So that's my huge recommendation. I'm glad I went here first because this is important. I will maybe one day put this somewhere, like a little template like this, maybe on my website or something like that. But, feel free to just make yourself one. There's nothing fancy about this. All right, let's go back over to Mint because I'm super excited to kind of run through all this. Okay, so as I said, you could budget. Let's look at this for a second real quick because I'm not going to go into detail here. This is like May budgets, all right? So, you can see like in here, if I'm reading this correctly, like total, I have $270 that I've budgeted to spend in May. That is definitely too low on a regular thing. Like, I don't think that's actually how much money I spend. This is nice though. I will say, like, if you can estimate how much gas and fuel you use, estimate your auto insurance, how much you spend on your haircuts, gym, which is closed, obviously, unfortunately, any sort of music subscription, Amazon Prime, state inspection, car registration, these types of things, right? If you can kind of estimate the amount of money that you do here and these more fixed type costs, then that'll give you a good idea, because that'll at least give you a base number that you'll need for your income that we said, like your remaining income after you pay yourself and all that sort of stuff. That'll be that's a good thing for you. So that I don't know if I would go deeper than that though. Like, you could, people would recommend it, but I just think it gets to be a waste of time. I feel like trying to budget like that is good to a certain point, but it's kind of like counting calories, okay? Just quick aside here. Like counting calories. Once you realize roughly how much calories and how much protein, carbs, and fat are in, like, a handful of chicken or, a cup of fries or something like that, then you can kind of in your mind loosely understand, oh, well, if I eat French fries today for lunch, then I should probably have, less carbs for dinner or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can kind of, I think, intuitively over the course of a month realize that, if you're spending a little bit more money here, then cut it back later. It's all a moderation balance thing. Like, this isn't to put at like a specific figure on exactly how much money you should spend or anything like that. If I had to make a recommendation, like, don't spend any money, right? Well, that's impossible. So just spend as little as possible. And I think if you can adopt that mindset, then you're going to be much better off than just, like, tediously calculating every single dollar you spend. Even though this makes it ridiculously easy, you don't have to do anything. You just have to put the numbers in there, and then it automatically assigns things. The toughest part about this, if you use budgeting, is like if you, let's say you go to like a Sheetz gas station and you spend $30, well, you have to, like, kind of sometimes manually assign that. Well, was that gas and fuel, or was that like food and stuff like that? That's kind of a tough part, but again, that's part of the game. So that's my point though, is definitely level 1 budgeting without a doubt, because it's super important. If you want to get deeper, you can, but I don't think it's necessarily, I don't think you necessarily have to. So, all right, let's now talk about the accounts that I have, why I have them, how I utilize them, and all these other things. So, this isn't going to be necessarily in order of when I got them, because I don't remember that order, and it honestly doesn't really matter. This is just where I'm at now and what I would recommend for other people. And I'm literally just going to go down the line. So in Mint here, you can see there's this cash thing. So like if we, roll this up, roll it down, these are all cash accounts. So we're talking like checking accounts, we're talking savings accounts, perhaps cash management accounts, like from a brokerage, like if that makes sense. It depends on how your brokerage does it. So if you have money that you could spend on stocks, that might be in here. And then I think that's pretty much it. Let me go back over to the other thing real quick. Cash deposits. So that's sort of like something that I have. Okay. So basically though, checking accounts, savings accounts, cash management, whatever. But those are the things. It's actual cash. Okay. It's liquid cash. It's not invested. It's nothing like that. It's actual cash. So what do I have? Why do I do it? Yada, yada. Well, here I will give you a little bit of a story though. I was using PNC Bank for years. I had PNC Bank since I was 16 years old. I had a checking account. My mom, we went down there when I was 16, opened a checking account at PNC Bank, and I had been using that. It was a virtual wallet. It's the one where it gives you like the spend, reserve, and growth. It's kind of nice. Gives you like kind of like a nice introduction to finance and managing your money. But the point of it was to fast track all that. I grew out of it. Okay. Maybe some people won't grow out of it, but I grew out of it. The reason I did was because there are just better options. If you give a shit about looking for better options, there are better options. If you don't care, then that's fine, because if you follow the rules, then you won't get screwed over. But if you are looking to do more creative things, or you want more like freedoms financially, and you're also willing to do things like differently than tradition, then you're gonna have a better time. You're gonna have to pay less fees. You're not gonna have to follow as many rules. So let me explain what I mean. PNC Bank is a brick and mortar bank that also has like online banking, but they have stores and actual overhead and everything like that. So they're gonna have to charge you more money. They're gonna have to charge you maintenance fees on your account if you don't have like $500 in there, right? They're gonna have to charge you different things for maybe opening accounts or whatever you have. But the main thing is like every single month you have to pay $10 to PNC, and there's different like tiers of accounts too. So like, we'll give you more money back at ATMs or whatever. We'll reimburse you if you have a higher deposit in your account, because at the end of the day, the way that a bank uses money is you put your money in there, and then they take that money and they invest it in other places to make money. Plus they can charge you fees. So like you never lose your money, right? But they're utilizing your money while it's in the bank. Okay. That's a very oversimplification, but that's how it's done. So where I got to the point in my like financial career, I was like, I don't want to deal with PNC. This was very recently that I was like, all right, I'm totally done with PNC, because I found all their alternatives. I've tested them and it's perfect. What I've done now is, as you can see up in this cash thing, there's nothing PNC. Also, this is important. Like this will be like the name of your thing, whatever you name it, and this will be the financial institution. So like you can see Ally Bank, Robinhood, Wealthfront, and WestBanco. So let me try to relate this to anybody's watching, like maybe something you would have. So if you have like a PNC checking account, right? You have like a debit card associated to that, right? That would be this account right here, everyday spending for me. So if you have never heard of Ally Bank, I would really suggest that you check it out. But I recommend it, but I also hesitate to do so, because it would be such a shock to some people's systems to utilize something like Ally Bank, because it's totally online. Okay, if you're, depending on how old you are, or the way that you've been interacting with your money to this point, if you're older, okay, and you go to the bank, like you literally go inside the bank, and that's like the highlight of your Friday or something like that, then you're not going to be able to use this, because there is no bank. Like it's only online. Okay. It's only on your phone. It's only on your computer. Ally Bank, Wealthfront is another one. There's a bunch of different ones, right? So I use Ally Bank because I started using it. It offers great interest on not only like high yield savings accounts, but also checking accounts. And it really is just a great all around experience for me. It's not for everyone, but again, this is how I utilize my stuff. And this is it. Okay. Honest to God, like if I could have had this video when I was like 18, then I would have went into it, and I just would have implemented all this stuff instead of having to, kind of go through the roundabout, especially with the business finance stuff. That's a different video, but like there's no reason, if you don't need to go into a bank, like you shouldn't have a brick and mortar bank. Like you should not do that. There's one exception to that, and I will get to that in a minute, but like there's just no need. So anyway, let me try to actually, with all that kind of out of the way, this is my emergency fund. Okay, this is a high yield savings account from Ally Bank. Literally type in Ally Bank, click on savings, and it's a high yield savings account. What's a high yield savings account? It's just a savings account. It's any old savings account, but the interest rate is much higher than you would get at like PNC or ABC Bank or whatever the hell you go to, any brick and mortar bank, because they have so much, so much overhead and stuff like that. They can't give you as much interest. Now the economy is kind of like in a crazy time right now, so there's a bunch of different things going on. But the point I'm trying to make is there was a time where Ally Bank was giving you like almost 2%. Might have been more at one point, but like 2% on your money that you have in there, that's pretty impressive, right? I think now it's like 1.25, which still is very good. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. Put your money in a high yield savings account, the money that you're just parking somewhere for a rainy day, because you don't need to just have that sit in like a checking account and make no money at all. And a lot of, what you don't need to put that under a mattress, put it in a high yield savings account. You don't want it to be invested per se, because, the actual, balance of the account could like rise and fall depending on how the market is doing. But this is a good thing. Ally Bank, high yield savings account, check it out. Look at some other high yield savings account, get yourself one of those. That's the reason I use that. So just parking money in there for, I don't know, rainy day, or, big purchase, something like that. The next one is everyday spending. So this is literally your checking account. Like I said, this is, if you have a PNC, this is what my PNC used to be. I used to pay bills from there. Now I do it from Ally. This account, it's a checking account, and it actually still offers interest. It's 0.1, which you will not see anywhere else. Like, you won't see PNC giving you interest on a checking account. And if it is, it's very low, and you have to have a lot of money in there. So another great thing there. The other great thing about Ally Bank is that it's all online. You don't have to go anywhere, like I said, but you can just literally open another checking account for free at any time you want, get another, debit card and all this other stuff. So quick funny story about this one. It's literally called Planet Fitness, because Planet Fitness is a decent gym, but I don't know why in the hell they make you put an account and a routing number into their system when you sign up. So it's like, normally if you buy something, you put a credit card in and they charge your credit card every month. Well, Planet Fitness doesn't let you do that. So you put in your actual bank information. I was like, a buddy of mine, and myself, we were like, all right, we're not going to do that, because I'm not going to put in my not credentials, but I'm not going to put in my accounting and routing number for my everyday spending. It's probably going to have more money in there, not like a ton, but more money in there than this thing. So what I did was, and these are the little tips, okay? The little tips that like maybe only I care about because I'm in the situation and it affects me and I'm interested in it. But here's what I did. I made another checking account. I called it Planet Fitness. I gave them those numbers so they can pull that out of there. And I don't know what the cost is. I think it's like $20 a month. So let's say $20 a month. Every month, I get charged $20 from that account. They pull that rate out of there. Let's say it's on the 25th day of every month. Well, what I did through Ally and the automation and everything like that is on the 24th or 23rd of the month, every month, I say, okay, Ally Bank, move $20 over into that account, and then it pulls it out of there, and boom, it's done. So those are the types of things that I would say are a little bit more advanced in a way, because you're the tools, and then you're fitting them into your specific situation and how they fit your needs. So that's what I did for Planet Fitness, and I just did that so they didn't have like the credentials, whatever, to like the account that would have more money and stuff like that. And now, if I wanted to do that with PNC, that was probably going to be a pain in the ass. Like, I was probably going to have to either go there. Maybe it's different now, but I know when I opened it, like, I literally had to go down there and open a checking account. So Ally Bank, I can't say enough good things about them. Just awesome. Everything you could want. Except one thing. So I'm not even going to talk about this Wealthfront, and this Robinhood Cash Management is slightly out of the way. This is just money in Robinhood that I don't have invested that I could buy stocks with. So I don't even know really why it's up here, but that's what that is. This Wealthfront was only open because it was a savings account that had a higher interest rate at one time, but I don't use it anymore because it's super low now. So that should honestly be deleted. Let me talk about this one though, because I've mentioned it. I've alluded to it several times. You can see this says cash deposits in WesBanco. Okay. So this is the situation I was in. I had Ally Bank. I was utilizing Ally Bank. Perfect, no problem. Like I said, I just got out of PNC. And the reason I got out of PNC on the personal side was because of this WesBanco. So the situation that I was in was I was using Ally Bank for everything, paying bills, any checks or anything like that could go in there. You can mobile deposit checks. Like I said, you don't have to do anything like that. You can take money out. Like you can take your Ally debit card, you put it in an ATM and you pull money out. That's no problem. The one problem that is the only problem with online banks is that there's basically no way to get cash directly into the account. Okay. So I do this a lot. I don't know if other people do, but if you have PNC or Dollar Bank or WesBanco, if you have those as your main account, you can go to the ATM, you can stick your card in, and then you can put cash in. Like you can deposit cash right at the ATM and it like goes right in your thing. Well, an online bank such as Ally Bank doesn't have that infrastructure, and you can't really just stick cash into a PNC bank and have it go into an Ally Bank account. Like I tried it, doesn't work. Okay, so the point that I'm making is that I was utilizing for a while PNC to be the bridge there. Okay, so that is the situation that I had. Let me see if I can illustrate that for you, just right here, for instance. Okay, so I had let's see, I had PNC, and then I had, let's see, this isn't gonna work. This will work. Okay, so I had PNC to Ally, and then to pay bills or whatever, in a sense, like pay bills, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just as an example, okay? So let's say I had $100 in cash. That's fine. Okay, let's say I had $100 in cash, okay? I have $100 in cash, and I don't utilize cash. I don't utilize cash at all. I haven't said that in there. I should have said that, but I don't utilize cash at all. I only use credit cards. We'll get to the credit cards, but I don't use cash. So as soon as I get cash, I want to put it into my account, right? And ultimately, I want to put it into that Ally everyday spending account here. So I have $100 cash. Well, how the hell do I get it into something where I can't deposit it directly in there? Well, you could order like a money order, but you're gonna have to pay money, and that's not a sustainable solution. So that's not a possibility. So what I was doing was I was putting it into a PNC checking account, that the same one that I'd had for years. The problem with that is that you have to have a minimum balance of $500. So they're just holding $500 of my money, which is totally pointless. Like, you don't have to have the minimum balance, but like I said, if you don't have the minimum balance, they're going to charge you $10 a month, and I'm not paying bank fees. Like, that's just not in my vocabulary. Okay, so you have $500 in there, and it's just sitting in there doing absolutely nothing for you. And I was literally like my balance was 501. I would keep it at 501. I would put $100 in there from the ATM, and then I would transfer that $100 right over to Ally, like no questions asked, because I'm not doing anything from the PNC account. So I started thinking to myself, all right, what the hell am I going to do here? Like this, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, how can I make this situation better? So I was looking around, and I knew what I needed. I needed a checking account at a brick and mortar bank, that has ATMs in my area that I can put money into. And the icing on the cake is no minimum balance. Like, you don't have to have a minimum balance, and with that, there comes no fees. So I thought that was going to be impossible to find, truthfully. Like, I didn't know anything else about brick and mortars in my area, but in my area of Pittsburgh, PNC is a big one. But there's also the research that I was doing, and I documented it on like my Instagram story. I looked into 3 banks. I looked into First National Bank, Dollar Bank, and Westbanco. They're all like somewhat, at least regional. They're like regional banks. And they all actually had something that, like, they all definitely met the one criteria of you can deposit money in the ATM. So that was an important one. They all met that criteria. I don't think Dollar Bank had a thing where it's like no minimum balance, no fees. I think First National might have, but I think the ultimate deciding factor was that I went to Westbanco and First National Bank, sort of their technology, because I also don't want the technology to suck completely. I'm not going to be dealing a lot with it, but that's kind of the situation I was in. And I was like, okay, First National Bank and Westbanco, what's the difference? Do they have all those things? And I think they both were pretty like neck and neck in the running, but ultimately I went with Westbanco, and it was probably the better choice because it seemed like they had better reviews as far as the app and the service and stuff like that. So to cut to the chase, I opened a Westbanco account. And when you open the Westbanco account, it's literally free checking. Like, you don't have to have a minimum. They don't charge you any service fees on one condition, and it's that you opt into e-statements. Now, if you have online banking and you don't get e-statements, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because I don't know why you would do that. But, so I was like, Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll take e-statements. I don't want any paper sent to my house, right? So that was like a godsend, and I could not be happier with what I set up there. So basically, to go back to this, we nixed PNC. This sounds like such a small thing, and in some ways it is, but honestly, it's a way better scenario for me because now I don't have the $500 constantly tied up in PNC. I don't need to worry about going underneath the minimum balance and having to get charged bank fees and mess around like that. Not to mention, I needed to get out of PNC for other reasons, like on the business end of things, because it wasn't linking properly to other things that I was doing. But like I said, that's a different video. But ultimately, this is the setup that I would like super. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is the setup that I would absolutely recommend to people because this covers all of your bases. Okay, if you have $100 and you put it into WesBanco, you don't have to have a minimum with all the stuff that I said. You don't have to have a minimum balance. There's no fees or anything like that, and you can just literally. This is what I do now. Okay, I got $100 in cash. I go to the WesBanco ATM. I put it in there. And then immediately, like the next day, hours after, I go into Ally Bank on their portal and I say, all right, hey, I have these two accounts linked. Take that $100 out of here and put it in here. So it's like if there was a way to automate that, I would. I don't know if there is, but that's what I do now. And you might think it's overkill. You might think it's like kind of like a pain in the ass, but like at the same time, though, I'm not paying any fees and they're not, and nobody is holding my money hostage. So I think this is tremendous. It's exactly, this is honestly like one of the biggest points that I wanted to emphasize because I did it recently and it's worked so well to this point. I can't even explain it. So, back to Mint here. That is what this, cash deposits is for. That is the one thing that you can't do at an online bank. And, that is super, vital to what I'm trying to do because if I have cash to put in, I don't want to have to, do all that other stuff, jump through those different hoops. I'd rather make my own system and just have it work like that. So if anybody from WesBanco is watching, thank you so much for implementing that. And sorry that I'm totally just using your account and you're not getting anything out of it, but that's just kind of what happens. But yeah, so there's the cash accounts. Okay, took a lot of time on that. But that was an important one. Credit cards. Okay. Credit cards, I have 8 of them. Those are just all personal credit cards. The reason I have 8 of them is because each time I got a credit card, it put me in a better position to get cash back than I was in before, if that makes sense. So I have this thing over here. I am not going to go through all this. We've already been talking for an hour. But if you want, go ahead and take a screenshot of this or, come back and watch it at a later time. Let me try to summarize. This is the order in which I got these. Discover It, Capital One, American Express, Chase, PNC, yada, yada, okay? Each time I got one of these, one, it improved my credit score ultimately because the more credit you have, I'll do a different video probably on credit score stuff. I think I might have done a live stream on a couple of the items, but it gives you more credit to work with, which means that if you consistently spend a smaller amount of money, it helps you in more than one way with your credit score. But ultimately, as I said before, I only use credit cards to purchase things, right? I don't use a debit card because my personal opinion, using a debit card is silly because you're not making any money or even saving any money or however you want to phrase it. You're not getting anything back for the money that you're spending. If somebody is willing to give you money when you spend money, take that deal. Okay, so let me illustrate what I mean. Time out though. That doesn't mean to spend more money, but you're gonna spend money. So if I told you that, let's say that you're gonna go, to the store later this evening, tomorrow or whatever, and you are absolutely 100% gonna spend $100. Okay, and I told you that if you spend $100, I will give you back $1 to $5. Would you take that? Like, you don't really have to do anything else. Like, you don't have to do anything really that different. But if I told you I was going to give you back $1 to $5 for that $100 purchase, would you do that? If you don't say yes, then I kind of think you're an idiot. Okay, so I'm going to say yes for you, right? So what I'm illustrating there is, let's say if you go to the store and you pay with a debit card, the money's gone, you get nothing. Congratulations. I mean, some things there are perks to spending with a debit card, but I'll leave those out of this. In the vast majority of the time, if you spend with a credit card, you run the risk of getting into credit card debt. But if you're responsible with using credit cards, which is something I'm assuming, then you're going to get money back for spending money. Okay? Money that you're probably going to spend anyway. So use the damn credit card is what I'm saying. And again, I'm not going to go through all this, but just look at one, for instance, okay? This PNC is a great example. Okay? PNC Cash Rewards. Every time I go to a gas station and I spend money on this PNC, I get 4% back. So I go to a gas station and I spend $100. They give me $4 back. Okay? Oh, Mark, it's $4. Yeah, well, how many times do you get gas? You know, like how many times you go to a restaurant, you get 3% back, grocery store. So that's what I mean is, like, if somebody's going to give you money just for paying with a certain payment method and you're responsible enough to pay that back every month and not overspend, pay with the damn credit card. Okay? So that's the reason I have 8, though, because every single time I got this, like, one, I just like credit cards too, and there's different reasons for that. You don't need to have 8. I'm not recommending getting 8, okay? Just have like 1 to 3 or something like that. Maybe, spread them out. Like, don't just get 3 random credit cards. Like, get ones that, like, okay, so PNC, 4% at gas stations. Then maybe, but then this Amazon Prime one, like this one, if you have Amazon Prime and you get this card, it gives you 5% back. Every single thing you purchase on Amazon gives you 5% back with that card. Like, that's crazy, right? And then there's other ones where it's like rotating. So maybe one month or one quarter will be grocery stores for 5%. That's crazy, right? So that's what I'm talking about is utilize, if somebody is willing to give you the money for spending the money that you're going to already spend, take the money, okay? That's as simple as I can put it. And that's the reason I have these 8 credit cards here on Mint. And again, if you have any balances here, it'll show you that, and it'll calculate as negative. So when we get to the bottom and see the net worth, you can see that it is taking your cash minus your liabilities or your debts, and then helping you out that way. Loans, I am privileged enough to not have any loans, but if you had any, they would be here. I did have some at one point. That is not fun, but again, it'll be negative and it'll take it out from you. Investments, as you can see here, we got some investments, and each one of these, this is kind of like bloated in a way because this is all from Coinbase, which is like cryptocurrency. So you can see here I have $27.93 worth of Bitcoin. That's cool, right? And then if you continue to scroll down, after we get past all the all the crypto, you can see this is an individual brokerage account from Fidelity. This is a rollover IRA that actually rolled over the 401k. You need that to roll it over into your Roth, so that's going to go away at some point because I did all that. And then this is my Roth IRA, and this is my money that I have invested in like stocks and stuff in Robinhood. So how do I explain this pretty decently? Got the couple crypto things. Don't really worry about crypto unless like you know what the heck you're doing. I don't. I just played around with it, like I said. The Roth is important. Put the money in the Roth. It'll grow. You'll be happy. Just do that, okay? I use Fidelity. I love Fidelity. Have nothing bad to say about them. There's probably other brokerages that are just as good. Just make sure that you're not getting screwed over in fees is all I can say. And watch the other video on the Roth IRA tips for that. Individual account is like if you want to put some money in mutual funds and then sell it in 5 years or something like that. Like this isn't a retirement based account. It's not going to have the same tax rules as like a Roth IRA would. That's the big reason to use a Roth IRA. So, just kind of look into all that. And then Robinhood investments, I just play around with money in Robinhood for stocks and I'm trying to get into options and things like that. So, that's just kind of my layout there. I didn't want to go super deep into the investment part things because they're a dime a dozen, truthfully. Like you could get 16 other like brokerages, and as long as you're not paying any fees, then you're literally no better off than like using. Let me give you an example. There's Robinhood, there's Webull, there's M1 Finance, there's all these other places. As long as you're not paying fees like every time you make a transaction, or like a ridiculous amount of fees when you invest into a certain product, then you're fine. So that's what I would recommend there. Just like find something like that, and maybe I'll probably put out more content. But again, this is just to kind of show exactly what I have, different tools and stuff and such. Let me go back here for a second. I kind of forgot a couple things, so let me touch on them just real fast. With credit cards, I kind of said why I have them, how I manage them. I pay every week, so like every Monday, like I go in there and I just make the payments. Like you don't have to wait. Like you can make more than one payment. You don't have to wait for the bill. I used to do it every day. That's definitely overkill. Don't do that. Never pay any interest. Just never pay any interest. Like don't even think about it. Just pay your bill every single month, or every single, even more frequently than that. Don't pay any interest, because you totally ruin every single thing that I just said about the cash back if you pay interest. So don't do that. And then just look for cards, like I said, and continue to do that. Just needed to add that in there. I knew I forgot something. Sorry about that. Anyway, those are the investment accounts. And then you can actually, with Mint, you can put property in here too. So I wouldn't recommend like putting in every single thing you own, but oops, I clicked on the Honda Civic, my bad. But you can put in that. So like, I don't know if my car is actually worth that much. It's kind of old. It's like 2010. But the point is, if you had a house or something like that, you could factor that in. And then this is exactly what I said. This is probably the number one reason I open Mint at this point in my life, is because I want to see how many assets I have, how many debts I have, and what my net worth is. Now, again, that's not a flex. That's high to some people. That's low to some people. I don't care. I want people to know purely for transparency, because I feel like I could be given all this information and I could be a total idiot. Okay, I might actually be a total idiot, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was a total idiot and I didn't have anything to show for it, then you probably shouldn't listen to me. I think that's respectable at 24. I would like it to be continue to grow and continue to be, and just continue to get better and better with investing and saving and all these other things. But that's the point, is that I think the transparency adds credibility, because you know exactly, almost like you can gauge where I'm at, where you're at, and just a medley of other kind of stuff when there's honesty and transparency in it. So some people have different opinions on whether or not you show that sort of shit. I don't care, right? It's most of it is in a freaking retirement account, so it's like whatever. But that's the point, is just if you listen to this, if you listen to it live, you listen to it afterwards, try to just take everything that I say, obviously, with a grain of salt. It's working for me. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to continue doing this, but I learned this from a bunch of other people too. So do your own research, continue to find different, methods of doing things, do some experiments. Like I said, occasionally I experiment with other, accounts and different credit cards and things like that. And I think that is probably one of the best ways to learn, because then you know exactly what fits your situation, what doesn't fit your situation, what you like, what you don't like, and it just provides a lot of good stuff, I think. So I'm kind of tired of talking. My throat's getting sore. We did a good hour and 15 minutes here almost. So I'm super excited to continue this journey here. Thank you, anybody who tuned in to watch our little, personal finance strategy thing here. If you have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. If you have any tips or recommendations for me, I'm always trying to learn too. Like I said, if you knew more than me on certain things, please. I am really trying to get into options trading. So I have a couple friends of mine that are into that now, and we're trying to ramp that up. But that's probably one of my next things personally that I'm going to attack. But I'm doing a lot of other stuff on the business end, so I don't know where I'm going to fit in time for playing around with that. But that's it. You pretty much got the whole thing, got most of the story. You got everything that I do now. You saw like where I'm at. That is exactly the entire personal side of my finance stuff. Maybe I will do one on the business side of it at some point in the future here. But again, thank you so much for consuming the content. I really do appreciate it. And, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.